Welcome to Perpetual Backlog Podcast, the gaming podcast catered for you to listen and get through that pesky backlog of yours. With hosts like Aqua, I have no idea what I'm doing, Dalit Duskwhite,
Come for the games, stay for my friends trying to kill me with their horrible puns,
and Leek Wibble.
Hey, this is Leek coming at you with a funny one-liner that I've been ordered to record, but the joke is I can't think of anything, so yeah, finger guns, pew pew, totally cool.
So we all got our next-gen consoles this week, right?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Dude, I'm sitting here, this PS5 is so big. Actually, mine's pretty small, doesn't take up much space. Also, I got the black one, which is really... I'm sorry, no, that's my PS4. I didn't get a next-gen console.
I'm just sat here in a cupboard eating crackers.
Yes, listeners, we're all poor, so if you would like to, give us stuff, that would be nice. But no. Unfortunately, I'm actually looking at getting, like, I want a PS5. And I'm debating on whether if I should sit outside my GameStop on Black Friday night, or Thanksgiving going into Black Friday, until they open up, or not.
My, the dangerous game we're willing to play.
I'm debating on it. I don't know yet, but we will see.
Wear a mask.
Oh, I mean, I have to wear a mask for work, so
Wear another.
Just take a hazmat
Two
suit,
masks.
you'll be fine.
But no. Next gen consoles did come out this week, and there's a lot of stuff about it. But first, what did we all play this week?
I mean, you know my answer. My answer's always the same. I played 2 games this week, and I didn't play much of either. Genshin Impact, in preparation for the event that dropped today, and Ghost of Tsushima with you and Psycho, so...
Oh, yeah.
Nothing new over here, just more of the same.
I almost forgot that we played Ghost of Tsushima this week.
It's because we only got, 3 rounds in, I think.
Yeah, and we did half of a gold round. We got the 25th wave.
Oh, that's true, we did,
died.
yeah.
I bore witness to this, yes.
Yes, you did. We all died.
We only died because I finally gave up my Mask of Many Faces.
Oh, yeah?
Is that the reason?
It's the reason. I just was uncomfortable with my new One mask.
This is true. This was the first
I couldn't watch
round.
my own back.
This was the first round that we played without him having the full 4-sided mask. So
I'm telling you, because I couldn't watch my back and all of your backs, we just got overwhelmed.
Yeah, I can believe that.
We'll do better next time.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And we'll be some. Actually, we probably have a lot more time this week, considering we're not playing D&D.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Says you.
Well, I mean, you guys have Friday D&D, but
No, I have many more. I play so much.
She's a monster.
Needless to say, I haven't played a console game or PC game this week. Mainly also because I was doing work too. I was a bit consumed by that.
What did I do this week? Played Ghost of Tsushima. I got farther in Paper Mario. That's been fun. Trying to figure out what was the last boss I beat. Oh, I'm actually at the lava piranha plant in fucking Paper Mario. That's gonna be annoying because it already drops me down to like 10 HP by the time I beat its first form.
Exciting.
Oh, crumbs.
Yeah, and so I need to figure out actually how to get through its first form really quickly, and then its second form has all the points that you can attack it is made of fire. So I think I have to, or not made of fire, but is on fire. So I can't do the jump thing on them. I think I have to have the fucking fish out so I can spray water on it.
That's what she said.
Well.
Wow, you're vulgar.
I'm really tired. I get even worse when I'm tired. Sorry. In advance, everybody.
Well, over the past couple of weeks, I've been playing League of Legends with some friends. bounces back and forth between either ARAMs or just normal 5s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to talk about playing League of Legends because I hate that game with the passion, but I only play with the friends. So
Yeah, League
Any
of
game becomes
Legends is
much better with
always
friends.
yeah. League's the only thing. Like, I'm happy just to simply watch the media they put out and non-specific game stuff. It's just all the music videos and artwork. I'm happy just to consume that and never touch the game itself.
yeah. And in light of news that came out the day after we recorded last week's podcast, I re-downloaded Neo again, and because I was stuck at a boss area, and just was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna deal with this right now because I suck at like fucking Souls slash Ninja Gaiden type games. Turned that on for like 5 minutes, and then turned it back off.
Like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Dude, I really suck at those games, so it's like one of those things where I'm just like, I don't really care too much about being good at it because in the end, it's just I understand like people get like they play those like super hard games and they get like that sense of accomplishment, but like, man, Neo's story is not exactly like worth the trouble. To be fair, it like looks cool. I like playing Neo. It's just sometimes I'm just like I go through an area and I'm just like, oh man, this is annoying or hard, or I'm at this one boss that's I think it's called the Umibozu, which is a gigantic fucking water blob monster.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not too hard to beat. I looked up like some actual like a nice trick to actually beat it, which was use some like weekend talismans and like turn your make your sword or whatever your weapon you're using to be on fire because that's like its weakness. So I'll go through that, but I need to like sit and like think about how I'm playing Neo because I read a few things and there's iframes really don't exist in Neo. And so like the way I kind of like want to play Souls games is I want to dodge instead of like blocking. And apparently like parry blocking is like the way to really play Neo and stance switching. So I've got to like maybe sit down and like try that, or I can just wait until I get a PS5 and play it on PS5. So
Which we will get to, yeah.
yeah.
Meanwhile, just untrain your old habits.
Yeah, untrained.
In games like that, however, I will say, as a blanket statement, patience goes a long way. Willing to go in and do let's go with a little bit of damage over a long amount of time can get you through most bosses. But boy, oh boy, all it takes is one moment of greed to undo all of that.
Yep.
So it's patience weighed against frustration and honestly just talent. So,
which the at least the PS5, actually both new consoles actually kind of help with that because now when you die over and over and over again in Demon Souls, the load time from death to going back to where you were just at is almost instant. So,
yeah, you're not kidding.
It's incredible how fast games load on either system. When I was watching, we'll get into this in a minute, but when I was watching the people that I watch that were covering like all the next gen stuff, they the loading was pretty fast on Series X. Like it was pretty comparable to PS5, but some things PS5 does some things like super snappy and quickie that it's just like it kind of like makes you take a like a double look, double check, and then like it's just like it's like how can the other console like really compare with this, and we'll get in that in a minute. But I didn't play anything else, I don't think.
No WoW this week.
Oh no, I lapsed my sub to WoW.
Okay.
Due to needing to save up money because it's Christmas time and I don't really need to be paying like $15 for a game that I'm probably not going to really play later on. I mean, I don't even own Shadowlands yet, so I'll probably play it like at some point in time, like next month or something like that. I'm not raiding in 14 anymore, so that does free up some room to play something else, because now my Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays aren't going to be filled up of dying over and over again in raid fights for this next tier that comes out next month. So, but yeah, I think that's all I played. So yeah, next gen consoles. Let me tell you. So I watch Gigaboots, all right. I've been watching them for the past like year. They're made up of 4 people that like to cover pretty much everything gaming. They're a bit biased when it comes to playing to Sony. They do like Microsoft stuff, but they're pretty biased when it comes to Sony. But what they did over this past week is that they did like 2 16-hour streams on the Series X, and they did 2 16-hour streams on the PlayStation 5. This is a group of people that normally does 16-hour streams almost every weekend. So, they're pretty crazy. But what they did was they tested multiple different games on both consoles. And sometimes the same game on each console, because some of them are either cross-platform or whatever. And they were mainly testing the back compat. Well, at least for Series X, you could really only test the back compat because there's no games that shipped with the Xbox Series X that was just for the Xbox Series X. So that's one thing. But they obviously tried Demon Souls and Miles Morales and all the and Astro's Playroom and Sackboy's Little Big Adventure or whatever for the PS5. So things loaded up pretty fast on the Series X, and it ran most stuff pretty well. There's a bit of differences when it comes to running stuff on the Series X compared to running it on the PS5. The Series X forces HDR and has variable refresh rate, which means that every time your game or system has to swap between like different, like I guess different frame rates, it will make your capture card or whatever kind of do the no signal thing there for a second, because your capture card has to like have a constant stream of like of like a certain amount of frames. And so when the Xbox does stuff with the with variable refresh, you like watching the stream, every time that they would load up a game, it would be like it would immediately change to no signal, and it would come back, and then like they could go through a couple of menus, and it would go to no signal and come back because it kept having to change the refresh rate. And it also forces HDR for games that are just regular standard definition. Which actually fucks up with a lot of the colors for video games. So
I was just going to ask.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff that's like pure white backgrounds for on the Xbox Series X pretty much blind you. Like any blue text with a white background or whatever will pretty much burn your retinas.
All right, well, that sounds like something that's definitely going to be patched down the line. That's such an easy mistake to see, though. I'm surprised that they fell for it.
It was funny when watching their stream because you could just see, because like the room that they stream in is pretty well lit, all right. But when they got to like places that had like a white background, or like anything that's like that showed like white platforms or whatever, you could just see it like light up on their face.
Oh crap!
So it's pretty strong. I'm pretty sure that'll probably get fixed around and patched. Maybe not patched out, but like fixed a little bit. if enough people complain about it.
Guess you're gonna have to fiddle with your monitor until then.
Yeah, because they're using OLEDs and all that shit, so like their fucking screen is like super high quality. So like any bit of like brightness or whatever just like fucking shines so through it, and it like that'll happen on like even my monitors, which are like small little 1080p 144 hertz monitors. Even those, like the white will just like pretty much just shine out. But most games ran pretty well from what I saw. Except for, so the first game that they played was Mighty Number 9, which is like a platformer, or like a kind of like a Mega Man-esque type game. They got to a part where they were shooting. It was like one level. He was like shooting his like blaster or whatever, and an explosion. The frame, because it does variable refresh rate. The frames dropped to 0 and crash, and then crash the fucking the capture card. Because of how,
Ooh, just
because,
the card.
Yeah, because because no frames were going through.
Yeah.
All right. The game was like still running, but it froze up on their game or whatever. But the capture card itself would crash for a second and then come back online. But when they played Mighty Number 9 on the PS5, there was no problems. They played Dynasty Warriors 9, which had problems on both systems. But that's
also
because
is a terrible game.
Yeah, it's because it's a piece of shit game. Period. But it actually played better on the Series X. So I guess if you want to play Dynasty Warriors 9 and have the best experience, the Series X is where you're gonna want to go. So they tried out all the back compat. So here's the unfortunate thing about Xbox systems.
Okay.
Even back on like going from the Xbox One to the Xbox One X to the Series X, all of the games aren't based at 1080p. All right, they're actually based at 720, or like just under 1080. All right. While on the PS4, when the Pro came out, even on just regular PS4, most games were made to be displayed at 1080p. All right. And even more so when the Pro came out. So that translates over easily from PS4 to PS5, because you'll all your games will be just set at like 1080 and be easily, or if you're wanting to go for the 4K, it'll immediately do like the 4K, and it'll be it'll like the resolution will look like clear and everything.
Yeah.
Games on the Series X don't do that because they weren't initially at 1080p. So you're getting like between 720 and 1080p games being upscaled to 1080p to 4K.
Oh, what's that do to the clarity? It must look pretty muddy at times.
It does, actually. And that's a real unfortunate thing about Xbox, because they didn't go through with making games at 1080 while going through the Xbox, like while having the Xbox One X and everything. Like they didn't start a change, because now games that come out for the Xbox Series X that are going to be like specifically for it, they'll be at like 1080p and fucking 4K, but now but all the back compat games won't. So it does look off. So like when you boot up PS5 games, they look super clear. I mean, there might be like some like resolution issues in some games, because some of them weren't like made the best anyway. But that goes for almost all of Xbox games, period. If you have the keen eye, you can like really see it. But I'm not hesitant to say that any Joe Schmo will be like, this looks not as good as I thought it was going to look. Most people are just going to be like, I can't really tell the difference, because Most people really can't. Um, I still can't really tell the difference between 4K and 1080p, but I haven't sat down with a bunch of 4K stuff really to really compare. Everything I see is displayed at 1080.
1080.
So
Yeah, it's one of those things that as we get further and further along, there's less and less of an obvious difference. I think there's still a fairly noticeable difference between 1080 and 4K.
mhm.
And as you said, if you were to sit down and really get familiar with 4K, you'd notice it. But I think 4K is overplayed, honestly. I think 1440 is probably really where we should be,
Yeah, I think
like,
1440 is going to be the
topping out.
standard. Yeah, 1440 is going
Uh,
to be like the standard, and then the fucking 4K is going to be like for the people that are like, I'm really wanting to pump out my resolution.
yeah, I'd hate to see 4K become the standard. I think that would just be silly and unnecessary.
Well, I mean, companies are trying to do 8K now.
Yeah, and that is entirely unnecessary, even as said by multiple people in the industry.
Yeah,
Like, that's just flexing, and honestly, I don't hate it. Fair enough.
yeah, no, it's fair. Um, so Series X is okay, but it doesn't run stuff as well as the PS5, and then the PS5 also has its own problems too. Like how like any other system, but and this is coming from people that are primarily more Sony based than they are Xbox or like Microsoft fans. They do feel like that the Series X is actually not a next gen upgrade compared to the PS5. So
You hate to hear it. It's something that we've been kind of working towards for the past few, I guess for us in particular, weeks, as we've been learning more and more about the systems.
Hmm.
Because whilst Microsoft definitely sold this to us as a next gen experience, it just seems that the more people get their hands on it, the more people see this as a small step forward and not the next step forward.
the OS didn't even change.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Really
OS,
now.
the OS looks the same in the Series X. It's actually not even. You can't even display the OS in 4K. It's not like it has to be upscaled.
I don't is so I'm not inherently against that. I think having something familiar is good. I am curious how that looks though, because surely that's gonna look kind of
Icons on
iffy.
the Series X, like so you know how when you see icons on like a PlayStation 4 or whatever,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and apparently
Like
viewing.
I am familiar with the desktop, the with the UI for
Yeah,
Xbox. So I'm hoping it's not too egregious.
looking at icons on the Xbox aren't is very hard. Apparently,
That's unfortunate. Because as much as I think giving people what they know is a smart choice, the fact that it seems like it is just literally the same and hasn't been touched up for this new resolution is just silly. What?
yeah,
How has it come to this?
I
Do
don't
you
know.
think they'll
All
be like attempting to uh, put out a different version, an upgraded version in the future?
Knowing Microsoft and Sony, yeah, most likely. I mean, I don't see the PS5 getting like a pro version for the next 3 to 4 years. Um, and I don't, and I could see Microsoft coming out with a Series X Pro within the next couple of years because that's just at this moment that just kind of seems like what Microsoft as a company is kind of like wanting to do. Maybe. I mean, I have
oh,
no idea.
that's no good.
Uh, but I mean, at this moment, I see no reason to even buy a Series X. There's no game like yeah, you have back compat games from Series X, and that's in quotations because there are no Series X games to the original Xbox. Yeah, you can play all of those games. That's cool and all, but like you could also have done that on your Xbox One X
All
as
I want to
well.
know is, will the new Elder Scrolls game be able to be played on this console
I mean,
whenever
yeah,
it is
yeah,
released?
yeah, most likely.
Yum yum.
I mean, but here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
While people will play it on console, a lot of people, most people will play it on PC.
Mm.
So
I think if this continues to be the feedback Microsoft gets, we'll see them scurry to put out probably not one patch, but several patches to rectify what they can. What's worrisome is what they can't in terms of backwards compatibility, because I mean those games are all just going to look the way they look because that's what it is.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So, I certainly don't want Xbox to just like flat out be destroyed start to finish, but this is not the first steps of a winning generation.
No. And like I said, I mean,
No.
PlayStation has its own problems too. There's currently a problem with putting PlayStation 5 into rest mode
Oh gosh,
um,
yeah, I read about this.
during
Yeah, I'm trying to
during
figure out
video
how this
games.
happens.
Um,
I
it'll turn off and then your save will be like kaput. Then I'll have to rebuild
mm-hmm.
files.
Hmm.
Um,
God forbid you hadn't saved in a bit and were midway through
yeah.
because of
Yeah,
all that progress
that'd
is
be
lost.
awful. Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
a so Gigaboots. One of the guys, Dan, because they got two PS5s, one for Dan and one for Bob, who are two of the people in Gigaboots. When he was setting up his PS5, he he has these audio cables that are plugged up to the system and everything, and he's got everything setting up. The when you're actually setting up like your account and everything, your PlayStation will actually tell you, "Hey, why don't you stick in a disc and we'll help pre-install a game for you while we're doing this." So you can pre-install a game while you're setting up your console.
Oh, that's cool. All right.
Um, and
Only going to use it once, but it's a neat idea.
so he went and put he was making a joke. He's like, I put the disc in upside down and then immediately put it back out because I was like, oh fuck. But he put the disc in and everything, and he went to go turn on his audio stuff for his streaming. All right, because he had thought it was already off. But he had apparently forgot to take in it to turn it off after the Xbox streams. So he turns off the audio, like the electric for like the audio stuff, and that immediately like that's connected to the PS5. It immediately like turned off his PS5. All right. And then he was like, oh crap, and so he was like trying to turn it on or whatever.
Huh.
But so apparently, what that does is that it doesn't brick it, but it does make your PS5 like pretty much unresponsive. But
Oh gosh.
you can boot it into safe mode, and it
Mm-hmm.
can download the firmware needed to actually boot up the system after
Ah, that's
while in
good.
safe mode.
That's still crazy. Whoa,
It
all right.
is. Like everyone is like has flashbacks to the PS4 Blue Light of Death that completely bricked
Oh
the
yeah.
console.
The PS5 is not without its problems. There are a lot of
Mm.
crashes on the PS5 that I've seen. I've seen people crash while playing Demon Souls quite often. But here's the difference with that: they click Demon Souls again, and they're immediately back into the game like 3 seconds later.
Oh my goodness. So
Oh yes.
I decided to catch some streams. I mean, given that we all obviously aren't picking up the next gen stuff yet, and like, can we talk about these load times? For backwards compatibility, I think the edge actually does go to Microsoft, as you mentioned before. I think it was Gaijin Hunter's video I saw do load times into Iceborne with the Series X, S, and the PS5,
Aha.
and in pretty much every single category, the Microsoft consoles were faster. I mean, for what it's worth, it's really not a big win though, in that they were faster by like a second,
Yeah.
with the exception of the guiding lands, in which case the PS5 still takes like 30 seconds to get in there. Don't know
So
what that's
quick
about.
though.
Don't know what that's about. Only took the Microsoft consoles like 15 seconds, but still,
Okay.
other than that,
In
like
comparison
it's
to the old times, though, it's
oh no,
amazing.
like exactly in comparison to where we are now, everything is a step forward, and that was really the only scientific thing I watched. The rest of my experiences were mostly just me sitting down and watching people enjoy it, and I didn't run into too many people crashing out or anything. But I did watch a lot of different streams of Demon Souls, obviously, and I watched some Godfall stuff because I'm still curious as to what is up with that title. um, and holy crap, those load times between death, zoning, loading were absolutely fantastic. I'm pretty sure Demon Souls doesn't even have loading screens anymore. Like legitimately, the
No,
loading screens are gone.
no. It's like
And
the loading screen is the smoke of you touching a bonfire, and then the smoke disappearing, and then you're in the next area.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's so good.
It's
It's so
so
good.
good, and
Uh,
and Demon Souls runs at a flat 60 frames per second on performance mode.
yes, it does. It
Oh,
is
it says
rock
nice.
solid.
Oh man.
Yeah, we're watching a stream together. I'm sorry, Demon Souls. I love you. You're beautiful. I just can't get behind the text you chose for You Died. I still can't get over it.
Yeah.
It's such a bizarre choice. That's the only critique.
First of all, Blue Point, you're miracle workers. I love you to death, but that you died text was
I
Yeah.
think
wonderful.
that's original. That's original text from the first one anyway. From the original,
Is it?
I think. I mean, I think they kept a lot of. They kept so with this remake that they had. You know the actual original game is running alongside the the
Yeah,
the game itself as you're playing it.
absolutely. I'm familiar with Blue Point's works. It's the same thing that they did in Shadow of the Colossus.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let me see if I can find up original Demon Souls. You died.
But yeah, no, like the guys at Blue Point are actual wizards, and it looks amazing, it plays amazing, and it
Mm.
loads phenomenally well.
I was so impressed.
Uh,
Because Aqua was
I
pointing
am,
out
however,
when we were watching a stream, and Aqua pointed out like when the time between you died and when you loaded up again immediately, it was so smooth.
So I'm in the middle of watching a video, all right, of somebody in the tower, all right, in Demon Souls, where the Mind Flayers and that are at, all right.
yeah, the Tower of Lutria.
Yeah, where me and Leek were watching KZ the other day, in
Mm-hmm.
it, and this is original Demon Souls, all right. Okay, so it's not the same text, by the way,
No, and I didn't think so, but fair enough.
because the guy just died. The difference between this area originally and this area on the PS5, like I recognize the area, right? But oh my god, the difference is night and day.
Oh my goodness, everything about it looks better. It's more atmospheric. They changed the track. What's I forget her name. The girl who sings. She actually sings a song now instead of just vocalizing
Oh, okay.
randomly.
Yeah.
Like everything about that is amazing. Oh, so
The
good.
dragon. Watch the dragon burning up that bridge.
Yeah.
And since we don't really have a place to talk about this, I'm gonna talk about this really quick here. Godfall looks like the goose egg of the launch titles.
Looks like the
Uh,
shittiest launch game ever.
Now that said, I don't know about that. I don't know about ever because this is a game that I would still play because sometimes there are just games I play for like turn my brain off and press buttons. But it's a really weird duck, yeah. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It looks great.
It looks like a Nvidia GTX card, but in a game.
Yeah, it looks like this is essentially just designed to be a tech demo. Um, but it's essentially uh, it's trying to be God of War meets Diablo, I guess, and boy, it's not going to be for everyone. Again, I think I'd actually probably enjoy that if I'm honest, but hoof. Now that said, because I was looking at this again, this shows off the power that the PS5 has. The like the the way this game looks is stupid. It's a very shiny game.
Oh yeah, it's very
Like, and
shiny.
I mean that in the most literal sense. Like, the first level is just shiny and bronze. And then you get into the generic fantasy level, and then after that, I believe, is the underwater level. They look beautiful. Not too many enemies on screen, so the frame rate looked good.
It does
And
drop a few bits though.
yeah, especially at the beginning of the game, like it's first loading up of certain animations and interactions. The first time you go through them, they're always weird. But to its credit, when you die, you spawn that second.
Mm-hmm.
It is so fast. Like this, it's been a treat to watch people actually spend time playing the game and have issues dealing with chat because they're too busy playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
don't have that downtime to like look over, and
Grab a
they have to
drink.
make time to interact.
Can't
Mhm.
grab
I
a
think
drink
that's
and loading
really, I think
screens.
that's really cool. Exactly.
So, did I tell you what Baru said after he beat the game?
No.
Okay, so he's watching the credits, all right. And I didn't watch him fully play this game, but I watched him play a good bit of it, all right. And let me tell you, the animations in this game are really jank.
Yeah, they remind me of Monster Hunter, and I don't mean World. I mean
Like old.
Monster Hunter prior to World. You are there are some really long, hefty animations, and you're stuck in them.
Yeah, and
Once you start, you're riding that the whole time.
they look like they're heavy hitting animations for some things, but like even when you hit, like there's no like there might be weight behind it, but like the people that you hit don't act like there's weight behind it.
Yeah, the hit stun on enemies was kind of whatever. Again, I think I actually would compare it to God of War in that sense,
Yeah.
where the hits are meaty, but the enemies kind of bounce back. But unlike God of War, you're so slow,
Oh yeah, very slow.
and you're purposefully very big meaty attacks, like the ones that actually are supposed to be like huge and like devastating, aren't. They're very quick, and the enemies happen to bounce right back from those too, and then it starts to feel weird.
Yeah. I I told you the other day, I was like I think this might be a nope for me.
Yeah,
And
no, this is definitely not worth full price, I don't
no,
think.
definitely not worth full price. So when Baru finished the game the other day, it went through the credits, and there is a long, very, very long list
Oh, we did
of
talk about this
of
live.
QA analysts and specialists or whatever. The first thing Baru said was, "I don't believe that they had this many QA specialists.
So
There is
yeah,
no way they had this
Is it
many
that
QA."
janky?
Yes.
it's like, especially on PS5. I watched a stream on PC of which there was minor jank, but it was honestly pretty solid all the way through.
He was
But
on PC.
the two PS5. Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate. The two PS5 streams that I did watch were, in fact, pretty jank. Lots of skipping around. That's where the frames did dip. Yeah, I could. I understand his gut check reaction to that because honestly, I can't imagine a large group of QA on this. I like for a few reasons. As a matter of fact, honestly, I don't think this game, especially with the scale we're looking at presented, required a large team of testers. But I certainly don't think that these people had a chance to do their job.
Mm-mm.
I think they were probably hamstringed in a lot of ways. And honestly, I've heard this went through some pretty troubling development. Obviously, only half the game is playable. In one of the earlier interviews, it was said to be 6 worlds. I believe there's 3 and a tutorial.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was supposed to be like earth, fire, water, shadow. There were some other ones, and I don't quite remember because I've always been iffy on this game. Like I want to like it but it just did enough in its marketing wrong that I was never excited.
So I have a question here. How much do you want to bet that it wasn't actually cut for development purposes,
Don't say this.
and it was cut because investors were like, "We need DLC for this game, so I need you to pump out
Don't
more money."
say this. This is my
Ah.
worry. This is exactly my worry. My worry is we're going to see is in about 3 to 6 months' time, we're going to have the complete game that was promised at launch. I don't know how to come back to that honestly, because it doesn't matter.
No.
If it was cut, that's unfortunate. It means that they overestimated their own talents. And if it wasn't cut, if it was just removed to be put back in later, then they're scumming, and that also sucks.
Like I want you to put this into perspective here. Half of the credits were QA testers.
It's so
Half of the credits.
Half of the
Interesting.
credits. Half of the time it takes to get through the credits was going through all of the QA analysts, QA specialists, QA testers, QA everything. This game did not have this many QA in it. Or either that or the quality of the QA was not good.
Unless they were a lot of them were focus testers rather than actual QA.
It could have, yeah, exactly. It could have been a revolving door of focus testing, which would be. Don't stop doing that, game industry. Don't focus test your games into the ground. It's how you make, like, extraordinarily mediocre games.
Yeah.
And this is an extraordinarily mediocre game. I don't know. I think this is definitely a game I'll probably pick up when it's $20-$30.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Because it's definitely, I definitely think it's worth that. But it does strike me as being weird that they push to make this a PS5 exclusive.
No, I mean it's PC as well.
Oh, sorry, a next gen exclusive title.
Yeah, it's PS5 console exclusive.
I didn't even so much mean Sony. I just mean that it's a next gen title, because honestly, this game feels like it looks new, but it plays like 10 years ago. Yeah. So I don't know what to say. Like everyone who was really hoping for Melee Borderlands, I really don't think they got that.
No, they did not get Melee Borderlands. As somebody who's
outside
recently
of
been playing
loot
Borderlands,
showers.
outside of loot showers.
Like, if all you're in it is to kill thing, get loot shower, you're good. You're good. Other than that, like, it just doesn't bring that same sense of finish.
So let's get off Godfall here, because I think we're just going to keep talking about how bad Godfall is. Let's talk about the best game that came out this launch of next gen titles. Astro's Playroom.
It is getting all the accolades, and my mind is blown because I gave it exactly 0 attention.
It is probably the best game to ever come out to showcase a console's ability.
Ah, interesting.
Because
and also
it makes full use of the PS5's abilities.
Yes, it uses ray tracing. It uses it can be displayed in 4K, and it most importantly uses everything that the controller comes with. All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
It uses everything with the haptic feedback. It uses everything with the dynamic triggers. It uses everything with motion controls on it. You have to use the touchpad while playing that game. And it itches everybody's speedrunning or scratches everybody's speedrunning itch.
Oh, does it now?
Yeah, because at the end of each section you do, it gives you a time. And that time is immediately compared to it is immediately put onto a leaderboard and compared between overall and between your friends.
Interesting. See, this opens up a new avenue, like with speed running with a controller such as the PS5 one. Is there any like speed run tricks you can do with something that requires some feedback resolved?
I'm not 100% certain, because I'd have to actually play it to really say. But watching Gigaboots play it, actually I watched them play like for like 4 hours last night because they were all trying to beat each other's scores or whatever.
Of course they were.
Oh, by the way, when you beat somebody's score, it immediately notifies that person. So if they're on your friends list or whatever, it doesn't it doesn't immediately notify like somebody that's like randomly on the fucking leaderboard. But if they're on your friends
I
list,
love it.
all right, and you beat their score,
They get a message.
it immediately notifies them that, hey, this person
I love
beat
it.
your score.
Please,
Stoking
please
the
keep playing.
fires of competition.
Keep playing our game. We'll be petty for you.
But like there's a round that like your little ball, like Astro gets turned into like a little ball, and the way you normally how you think you would have to you would like move around the ball is that you would have to like try to do it with the analog stick or whatever. No, you have to actually do it with the touchpad. So you have to actually move Astro around with the touchpad as the ball and get through that as fast as you can. And you have to like keep swiping the touchpad. So it's not like, you just move up in the touch and like Astro moves. You have to keep moving the touchpad and then like
Yeah.
Sure.
There's another round where you have to climb a wall, and the way you climb a wall is you have to keep moving the controller up and down.
Yeah, this was my curiosity about how people would speedrun this in the future with like
Yeah.
requirements such as those.
Obviously, there's some rounds where you just use where they're just like pretty much just jumping platforming speedrunning or whatever, where you just use the X to jump and like spin or whatever, and those are still fun. But it's like what Astro's Playroom is that it's a platformer that has like every PlayStation reference that you could ever have in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
While showing off everything that the PlayStation 5 can do, whether it be graphically, whether it be the technology within your controller, and whether it just be how the game runs. So.
Yeah.
This does kind of lead me into a question that I have about this technology.
Mm-hmm.
And that being, because the onus is on the devs to develop around it, how long do we think devs are going to be willing to deal with what is essentially a very well put together gimmick? Or do you think it'll actually be a full generational part of the PS5's game plan for all developers?
So anybody that has a PS5 and that has played the new Call of Duty,
well, if they're playing the PS5 version anyway.
Yeah, they're playing the PS5 version. The Call of Duty uses the everything that the controller can do. It has the different feeling of when you're shooting a gun. The trigger, the way you shoot is like the trigger feels different for each type of gun you have in your hand. So you can literally feel each bullet leaving the gun,
and that is very cool.
Yeah,
for story mode. I wonder how people in multiplayer are going to handle that after a while, or if they're just going to try to turn it off. Because a lot of this is going to come down to fan feedback. If this is like a good feeling thing and people like are willing to interact with it, I'm sure the devs will continue supporting it.
Well,
I wonder
if they developed that within game around the controller or whatever, wouldn't it be more accurate that way? Because say you're shooting a gun that's semi-automatic. Most people that shoot guns that are semi-automatic, like within video games, are just spamming their button. But what if they're more accurate with how they feel the controller? What if there's a point that you can feel where if you release the trigger at this point in time after you just shot a bullet, then that's going to be the more accurate bullet.
I'd
I think
imagine this wouldn't play so much into games that are cross-platform because Xbox doesn't have this type of haptic feedback in their own
Yeah,
controllers,
yeah. Let
right?
me let me tell you what.
cross-platform.
Let me tell you what. We'll skip to this new COD news or whatever. Yeah, they don't give a
All right.
shit about that because apparently
They don't know.
apparently
Yeah,
the
yeah.
PlayStation 5 version of COD, you just get advantages. Period. You get you
Oh.
get increased XP gain. You get fuck man, it was in Yongya's fucking video. You get
So
increased.
you get more loadouts. You do get increased experience gain, and I believe you have access to a couple of guns.
Yeah,
I
Hmm.
it's I understand for all the people saying you don't actually have an advantage,
but you do.
but also you totally do. Like loadouts in and of themselves are not advantageous because they exist. The ability to choose more options to adjust for your situation, however, absolutely is.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what people are angry about. I don't think experience is very important. I think that's just for people who want to get to those higher levels quickly. But
I
yeah,
feel
no, those loadouts are honestly where the issue lies. I think for most people.
I personally, all right. So this is gonna be like a bit of a hot take. All right. I usually look at console exclusive stuff um, as normally a good thing because I'm all well and fair with competition. But that only, but that process only goes just for console exclusive games. I don't believe in console exclusive content between cross-platform games. I hated it when Destiny got fucking maps.
Okay, I
When
was about
maps
to
in
say we've been seeing this for years though.
Yeah, I hated it when Destiny got maps. The PS3 version of Destiny got maps, then the Xbox version didn't, or the PC version didn't. All right. Now they later on they finally released all that stuff, but I'm not a fan of console exclusive content for cross-platform games. I'm like I don't mind if like Demon Souls is only for fucking PlayStation 5. Because I feel like there needs to be a difference between consoles to make people want to like buy each of them. Because if they're just the same console, if they're just the same stuff on each console, then the only point to really buy either one of the consoles is where your friends are at, um or like which one has like I guess the better hardware.
I don't have very many strong opinions against that. I think exclusivity in terms of some content is just a thing that's going to happen. With some titles, it's a thing that's going to happen. Content does actually become an issue,
Yeah.
and we did like you brought up. We saw this all throughout the PS4 era with Destiny,
Mm-hmm.
with the PC and any console that wasn't Sony getting shafted on content
Avengers getting
regularly.
Spider-Man.
The Avengers getting Spider-Man.
Or getting
Uh,
Spider-Man, quote unquote, because Spider-Man doesn't even exist in Avengers yet.
yeah, we'll see at this rate. This, I mean, I think, like with DLC, like with any transaction, this kind of just falls into the in so long as it doesn't hurt the experience for others.
But this one does.
But this one absolutely does. It's more weapon experience, more character experience, and more loadouts.
Mm-hmm.
I think people saying this is a big advantage are probably overestimating it, but it is an advantage. And I think that is probably something that inherently shouldn't be done. Like, everyone should probably have a level playing field in terms of what they can do mechanically in game.
Yep.
And that includes switching from one, let's call it class, to another in this instance.
It's just baffling because like I mean obviously if Sony's gonna pay for it, then obviously Activision and whatever are gonna fucking do it. They're like, yeah, we'll give you a fucking
Absolutely.
exclusive. You're fucking paying for it. Of course we will. And that's the. Don't get me wrong. I am probably one of the biggest Sony fanboys here. All right. I could care two shits about fucking Xbox and Microsoft. Every time the last time I really liked Xbox was back at the 360, and then I swapped immediately to fucking PS3 because I red ring two of my Xboxes playing Star Ocean 4. So
Ooh, painful memories.
yeah, so I'm like, whatever. I didn't have any problems with PlayStation, so I just fucking swapped over to there. Sony gets on my nerves with this it's the same with Epic, and I vouched for Epic for a while because I'm like, okay, it's okay if they buy up a couple of these developers to get them exclusives, because they, outside of maybe making their fucking platform a better thing to actually use, they need stuff on it. All right, so I'm okay with that. But Sony is kind of getting a little ridiculous here with this content exclusivity, and like,
I don't know. I think this is just them continuing as it's just business as usual for them, which is the problem is that there wasn't enough of a stink raised last time. And this kind of does get down to the whole, well, if you want to do something, vote with your wallets. But and
oh,
I'll talk about this in another time in greater detail, but suffice it to say, Call of Duty is one of the largest selling game franchises, full stop. Much of the player base that plays Call of Duty does not play other games.
yeah,
So the people who hear this and see this as an issue are never going to vote with their wallets, because even if they do, the sheer amount of other people that are voting, or I guess in this case not voting, just continuing to play, will vindicate or at least validate Sony's decision making.
mm-hmm.
It just means that the place to play Call of Duty is on the PS5. Get fucked, Microsoft. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I didn't see actually too much. So they played a bunch of other games on the PS5. They played Resonance of Fate. They played Star Ocean 5, or not 5, 4. Again, they did Dynasty Warriors 9, which ran like shit. And they also did Dynasty Warriors All Stars or whatever, which also ran like shit. Any Koei Tecmo game apparently runs pretty bad, or at least a Warriors side of
Yeah.
Koei Tecmo games on the PlayStation ran pretty bad. They booted up.
So while
No,
you're
go.
listening to these, I actually have a question. Um, I had heard from one of the streamers that I was watching that the difference between playing on PS5 and PS4, other than a little bit of load time, isn't actually that different, which surprised me.
It depends on what PS4 you're playing on. If you're playing on a Pro,
Yeah, the
you're
Pro,
gonna have
obviously.
less of a jump. Um, but the real difference between playing on a PS4 and a PS5 is that games that aren't locked at 30 frames are going to be a constant 60,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of games don't run at a constant 60 on the PS4. I don't know about Pro because I don't
No, they
have a
would
Pro,
get
but
on the baseline. You'd often get fluctuations between 40 and 50, and that would impact how smooth things felt. It would be a mechanical impact.
yeah. So on PS5, you end up getting faster load times. I mean, ridiculously faster load times. Let's just talk about that. And then games are running at a constant 60 if they're not capped at 30, which there are a lot of games that are capped at
There are
30.
a lot, yeah.
Um, and
I was sad to learn Bloodborne was one of them. What a shame.
yeah, hopefully they come. Hopefully, which I don't think fucking FromSoft ever going to do it, but FromSoft should just like patch it to where it unlocks it to
Like
be.
innately, I want to say that's an easy patch. But on the other hand, that's 2 games old at this point, right?
Yeah.
That's behind Elden Ring, which may or may not exist, and Sekiro now.
Oh, it apparently does, because apparently Phil Spencer played a little bit of Elden Ring and said it was
Apparently,
he said it was
it's
pretty
a
good.
game. It exists.
He said it's amazing. So,
It'd be nice if the rest of us could see it and have that opinion.
yeah, I know, right?
I don't even really want to play it. I'm so excited for all the content creators that I watch who will.
I
Vati and Lobos? Absolutely.
I obviously we can't really say because we don't have a PS5, so we can't like say, oh man, this actually feels better. But I watched a game like, okay, so I watched people play Spider-Man on a normal PS4, right? Or I've played Spider-Man on a normal PS4. I saw it boot up on a PS5 and put in performance mode. Now, normally when I watch streams, I can't normally tell if a game is 60 frames or not because usually they're not outputting at like at a constant 60 frames on the stream or whatever. I saw both Spider-Man and Miles Morales display at 60 frames on a stream, and that thing was fucking so smooth I could have cut it with a knife.
What I
Butter
really
knife.
enjoy, yeah, yeah. What I really enjoy about this next gen is that the from a purely visual standpoint, just in terms of textures and all of that, the difference between cinematic and performance mode is so nothing.
Yeah.
But once you flick performance mode on, you see where the real strengths of these consoles lie.
Yep.
Without giving so much fidelity, without giving up really any fidelity, just maybe some mild texture dipping here and there, you have this rock solid performance that looks better than anything on last gen.
Here's what I'm going to employ everybody to do. So you have pre-made settings for your console, like the thing I talked about last week, where you can pre-make
Sure.
your difficulties or whatever. You can pre-make your settings for performance and fidelity mode for video games that have that choice, that have that option. Keep your stuff set to performance mode because chances are that's going to be an analytic for Sony to look at.
Yeah, I agree.
And if they're going to see all these consoles be set to performance mode by default, they're going to push that towards developers and say they want games that run smoothly, not games that inherently are going to look like the best. Now, you can have the setting to where it looks, you're in cinematic mode and there's ray tracing and it looks like fucking Devil May Cry 5. That looks fucking
God, it looks so good.
That you could look at a reflection on your screen and see your reflection, not your character's reflection, but see your reflection, and that could be cool. You can have that set. But keep it set, but keep your default set to performance mode because I guarantee you that that Sony's probably going to look at that. And hopefully
this has to be the standard going forward.
Yes.
It would be heartbreaking for the concept of visuals over gameplay to take the forefront again.
Yeah. We talked about Gigaboots a lot, or I talked about Gigaboots a lot. I'll link their channel in the description because they're really good. They cover pretty much almost anything and everything that you could cover about these consoles, and they're actually pretty funny. But that's the most I saw in games being played. All of them ran really good, other than like I said, the Koei Tecmo Warrior games. They even ran pretty good on the Series X, but there's just the subtle differences between the console that the PS5 kind of edges a little bit more. And there's actually not that much of a generation. There's not that much of a gap between PlayStation and Xbox in like some fidelity, like high end fidelity games that are actually made for next gen. As we saw with the, I think I linked the Digital Foundry video for the comparison between the special edition of Devil May Cry 5 on the Xbox Series X and PS5. The frame rate differences and the games looked almost exact. The games looked exactly the same between each console. So like the graphical fidelity is there in every system setting that you can have. there's just in some settings the Xbox will edge out more in frames, and some the PS5 will edge out in frames, and that's like there's actually almost no difference in what the consoles can actually do. It's just that each one of them have like a certain edge in some things. So I mean, really, all you have to do to decide which console you want is look at what games are on which console.
Yeah, genuinely, I think we are actually at that point now.
And considering Series X doesn't have any games, PS5 wins. So there you
Well, yeah.
go. We'll move on to I guess the community stuff that's happened with these next gen consoles. So the first day the Xbox came out,
People are so stupid.
They were stupid.
They
Shenanigans happened.
a lot of videos came out of their Series X smoking. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, the Series X is on fire and everything." No, idiots are just blowing vape under their fucking Series X, and it's coming out the top. Even
It got to the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, it got to the point where Xbox themselves said, "Please don't vape into your Xbox."
Yeah. No, they were like, I can't believe we actually have to say this, but please do not
Exactly.
vape into your Xbox, please.
I genuinely can't believe they had to say that. Like, apparently this is a thing that actually does happen. Like every console generation, someone will get their hands on the enemy console and try to like sabotage its reputation at launch. And I've just managed to miss all of this. This was the first one I saw. But honestly, this is some childish nonsense. My goodness.
I've seen some Xboxes have I've seen some actual problems with Xbox hardware, with like the disc not being able to be taken, or the disk drive actually making a weird fucking woodpecker noise.
Yeah.
But nothing that's not too out of the blue when it comes to a console launch. It's just everybody was like, their console's on fire, rah! But they're just vaping into their fucking console and they're being idiots. So don't believe everything you see on the internet. That's pretty much.
Always look things up.
So my biggest problem with the Xbox, all right, and this will be the last time we actually talk about next gen before we get into like company news. My biggest problem with the Xbox: you cannot play any game offline.
Yeah, they've reintroduced the always online DRM that they had from last generation.
That they were going to put in last generation.
Sorry, that they initially had before removing.
So if your Wi-Fi cuts out, you're Comcasted, you can't play your game.
Yep. You have to be connected to internet to play games on the Xbox. In the tweet thread that I linked the other day, let me see if I can find it again. A guy went through and tested everything that he could. Goddamn. You know, I linked a lot of shit this past week. Here we go. A John Doyle, or at morphid_plays on Twitter. He spent the last 24 hours with the Series X and testing it for its media preservation aspects. And he said he was sad to report that when you think Xbox couldn't get any worse, it has. The console is the 2013 Xbox One by everything bar name and below, and he'll explain. So he set up the Xbox, the Series X, and immediately was greeted by an internet-required setup. The same as Xbox One. And this was obvious because like most systems want you to download a firmware patch or whatever for it. So this sucks for people that don't have a that might not have internet access, because for at least for the Xbox, I don't know if you could do this for the Xbox, but at least for the PS5, you can find some way to get the firmware onto a flash drive and upload it and put that into your system that way. So I don't know if the Xbox allows you to do it, but you need online to even turn on to even set up your Xbox in the first place. And then he updated system, signed into his Xbox Live account. He arrived at the dashboard and checked to ensure the system was set as home console, and it was. And so now he had a theory that even though online setup was was bad, but maybe it was just a one-time deal. Okay, yeah, maybe it's a one-time deal. So he reset the Xbox and did the same process again. And yes, indeed, it needed to be connected again. So eventually, he arrived back at the starting point to resume testing. So he installed a few Xbox One discs onto the Series X console in offline mode. There is an offline mode apparently, because after you set up the console to, you can actually disconnect it from the internet, and it will still like boot up, and you can actually like do some stuff on it. After a fairly long install process, they finished, and he had opened the titles and greeted with the message that they could not be played without being online. So now we already have activation DRM. So at that point, he went through and turned the system off, cold booted it, turned it back on, and to see if like he could play his activated DRM games without internet access, and he couldn't. It has to always be online to play a game. So if you do not have internet, do not get a PS5. I mean, do not get a PS5. Do not get a Series X. God. Now, I went into Gigaboot's channel because they were doing the PS5 thing, and they hadn't tested it yet. All right. I specifically went in there and I was like, "Can you play games offline?" And he was like, "We haven't tested that yet, but let's see." So he took one of his PS5s and he turned it on. He hooked it up, turned it on, didn't connect it to the console. He even like put it up on on stream and was like, "Can you confirm that like there's no internet or whatever on here?" They installed a disc, and then booted the disc and started playing the game. So you can play games offline on your PS5.
It doesn't surprise me that something they wanted to enact last generation is enacted quietly this generation. So I do expect there to be a substantial amount of blowback to this, because God forbid anything should happen and, I don't know, say Comcast screws someone over, and they're just down for 2 days, can't even play games offline. All their single-player games that they might have grabbed from the backwards compatible catalog. And I'm just gonna wait for someone to tweet to Xbox that they should have just gotten an Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Because if we all remember, was it Major Nielsen?
I think so, yeah.
That was his response. If you don't have an internet connection, we make a console for that. It's called the Xbox 360.
Yeah, and I really hate that way of thinking, because
it was caveman talk at the time. Can you imagine if anyone tried to justify it today?
I'm like really sad to hear that you can't play a console offline, because as we stated last week, I'm pretty sure we stated last week, consoles are supposed to be made for the easy way to play video games. All right?
Yeah.
All right. Just because you have the ability to make your customers get online to do stuff, and just because some games need updating or whatever, doesn't mean you need to force them to play to always be online. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It was ridiculous that they keep doing this. You know what? I'm very curious. I haven't seen anybody try this yet, but I'm very curious to see if somebody can play a game that they bought, a physical game that they bought, and activate and played it on their Series X, to immediately go to another Series X and try to play that game with that same disc. I need somebody to test that for me.
Oh, do you think they would try to revalidate the disc and have it?
Yeah, I honestly think they would. I honestly think they would do that.
Well, it is also something they got tagged pretty hard on last generation. So
this is how you share your video games.
Yeah, that's the one.
I love
On the
those
Mm,
topic
videos.
yeah.
of internet, though, this is a very weird thing, especially from Microsoft being an American company.
I'm just assuming they're collecting data constantly.
Well, without a doubt.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But what gets me is America, as you may or may not know, is a rather large place.
Mm-hmm.
Internet has to get wheeled out through wires.
Yep.
Um, like no matter what, even if you individually use Wi-Fi, at some point there is a wire involved to get internet to you. We do not have the infrastructure to demand that someone have access to internet at all times.
Yep.
We're not there yet.
No.
It's not something that the government has decided is a right, as with certain places in the EU. We're not a small enough place a la the UK, and I think even in the UK you'd have issues with this.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. God forbid someone in the middle of America who has miles and miles of nothing but miles and miles around them orders an Xbox, has it shipped to their house. They get it, boom, plopped down. Something goes wrong with their internet. It'll be a little while before anyone makes it out into the middle of corn country.
Yeah, I mean,
They now have a glorified paperweight.
Yep.
this infrastructure issue was also a big problem during when children had to stay home to get their schooling done because
Exactly.
of all the lockdowns. So
Like we know this for a fact. America does not have the infrastructure for this.
Oh, actually, you want to talk about paperweights, all right?
Uh-oh.
So, you would think that with the way America works, we would be able to set up the server base to not have everything go to shit. All right. This is going to go back to Gigaboots, all right? And they were testing games on the Xbox Series X. So, Dan bought Assassin's Creed Valhalla for the Series X, all right? This is how I know that they're going to start to do the you can't play this game on another Xbox or whatever. There was only 1 gigabyte of memory, or there's only 1 gigabyte of data on that disc. He had to download to download the full game.
really,
All right, that's not the worst part. All right,
No.
out of that 36 hours, he couldn't download the game.
Yeah, this was a problem for people.
oh
Yeah.
All right.
Admittedly, though, to be honest, this was a problem for people on.
No, it wasn't.
consoles.
No, it wasn't.
Well, maybe not for Dan and Gigaboots, but there were some really funky things going on with the initial download, and it might just be the Godfall servers for PS5 folks. They could not get it.
yeah.
Might have been the
Well-
Godfall because I saw video games download on like fucking quickly on the PS5.
Sure.
Oh, at
I'm
launch.
sure-
So you buy this very shiny new console. You put the disc in anticipation to finally play your game. Then your internet cuts out, and you cannot download said game because there's only 1 gig on the disc, and you need the rest from the servers.
Yep.
This is exactly why people made such a big stink about it 7-8 years ago, however long it's been. A lot of people just kind of brush it to the side, saying people aren't willing to part with the physical copy yet. They have a tactile response. They want that disc in their hands. That was never it.
No.
I mean, maybe for a small player base, they just prefer having a CD. Realistically, that preference comes from, should anything happen, I have all of my stuff.
Yep.
I can just get a new console to put my stuff in. Or, if it's offline, cool, I don't have to re-download anything. I'm not filled up on memory. I can just insert a disc and go back to playing. That is what Sony absolutely scarred them on 8 years ago. For them to potentially be making this mistake again is baffling.
Now, I was saying about paperweights, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the Xbox servers when you have an Xbox Series S.
Oh, that's right.
and you can't download any games because, Assassin's Creed Valhalla stopped downloading, or actually couldn't download in 36 hours of straight downloading.
Oof. Yeah, but I mean, we've already established that the Series S is a bad, bad investment.
Yes.
Good to see it just keeps getting worse.
That's like, yeah. I don't know. I like, this may come off as like a bunch of Sony bias, but like literally any company that thinks that it's a good idea to make sure your system is always online and you cannot play a game when it's offline just doesn't deserve your money. Because there are single player games on the Xbox. There are games you don't need to be online to play. But guess what? You need to be online to play because for what fucking reason?
This is the weird thing that I'm going to make an assumption here that this is executives seeing what the top selling games are and catering exclusively to that. The top selling games for the last 5 years are, without fail and with very little change, a Call of Duty or a Battlefield if there was no Call of Duty that year, an NBA game, a Madden game, and whatever the high-profile single-player game was that year. And this is the US. Obviously, FIFA would take the top spot anywhere else in the world because that's just how football do.
Yeah.
But like these are the games they're looking at. So 3 of those games, the games that are selling 22 million copies easy, the sports titles and the shooters, specifically Call of Duty. Well, people are only playing online on those, so clearly there's no reason for us to support anyone being offline if that's where all our money is. God forbid, you get I'm so sorry, Xbox, I don't play any of your games. A God of War type of game on the Xbox. Purely single player. There is no multiplayer in it whatsoever. The fact that you now cannot play that game because Comcast is down. I mean, power is still up. You still could, but the fact that it will not launch because no internet access is bizarre to me. It's absolutely bizarre to me. And it tells me that they are focusing entirely on those big money makers.
Yep. I agree. And it sucks.
And it's bleeding over to Sony in terms of games, not in terms of hardware. I'm going to keep ragging on this title despite wanting to try it out. Did you know that Godfall is always online?
Yeah.
Yeah, despite being potentially a completely solo experience.
I mean, it's the same thing with Destiny. Destiny's always online.
Destiny's always online, despite potentially being a possible solo experience.
Yeah.
There's this case where they're building it around this concept instead of opting into it.
Yeah.
And that is potentially coming from a good place, but probably just because it's what they think.
Well, see, the problem is with that is that, like, those games that are always online that could potentially have a offline solo play experience, they're all games as a service. Borderlands is a game as a service. Fucking Destiny's games as a service. I don't care what anybody says about Godfall. I 100% that game is going to be a games as a service, but it's probably going to fail. I mean, Avengers is always online. Like, all the games that are games as a service are always going to be online because that's
games as a service is such a weird loaded term, though. What game isn't a game as a service nowadays? Monster Hunter is.
Well, okay, yeah, but those games are centered around their multiplayer. But you have games like The Witcher. That's not a games as a service game. You have games like
Is it not? It gets more frequent attention given to it than most games as a services.
But you don't play with other people in that game. Games as a service is a game that continuously gets updated and you play with multiple people. All right. Games as a service that like
You were the first person that I've spoken to that's ever added the multiplayer aspect.
I yeah,
Usually, for me, people explain it as it's just a game that's content is continuously sprinkled on throughout.
but Witcher's
So
gameplay isn't continuously sprinkled on now. They have a couple of DLC for it. I mean, that's the same with the Mass Effect. Mass Effect, I don't consider Mass Effect a game as a service, but it had a couple of DLC. It had and it has a multiplayer, but I still don't consider that because you primarily play that game by yourself.
yeah,
What it tells me honestly is that they've definitely shifted the focus of demographic that that they've want to encourage buying the console, because we used this analogy last week. Little old Timmy wants a Christmas present and goes asks the unwitting mother or father or grandparent, and they buy this console. They plug it in anticipation, but cannot download anything and cannot use the console as intended.
Yeah.
And then realize the console's not really aimed at those people anymore.
no, no. I think that's absolutely right. I think
I think PlayStation at the moment is still aimed at people from any point in age, because you still do not need to be online to play it. You can give this gift. You can give a PlayStation 5 to a 9-year-old. It's a bad decision to probably give it to a 9-year-old because they might break it easily, but you can still give it to a 9-year-old. He can hook it up. You can give him the disc, and he can just fuck around with it. You can't do that with the Xbox, because you have to have it hooked up. Because like the kid at 9 years old might not know the ins and outs of like online internet playing. All right, so like he's just like, I just want this console because it has there's this like cool looking game on it. And I'm like saying that loosely because Series X doesn't have a Series X game. So
Yeah.
like you have to always be plugged in. And then like, the kid is like, well, what if they don't have good internet? All right.
Mm-hmm,
And so they're sitting there, and like the kid wants to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but that's like a fucking 80 gigabyte game, with which 1 gigabyte of the game, which is just activating the fucking download, is on the disc, and has to wait fucking 12 years to download a fucking 80 gigabyte game. And then, because he doesn't have good internet, like Sony has some bad practices, I will agree, and it like some of Microsoft's bad practices may bleed into like some of these like Sony games as a service games. But Microsoft seems to be the more anti-consumer at this point. And how I view games as a service is that they have to be always online because there's a multiplayer for it. All right. And that's how I view Destiny. That's how I view Godfall. That's how I view fucking Borderlands. All right.
every sports title, every first-person shooter,
Every sports title, every first-person shooter. Those are all games as a service
a
now.
lot of racing titles at the moment.
But there are games that aren't games as a service that are primarily which are just single-player games. Like I think all single-player games are not games as a service. Even if they have DLC, Kingdom Hearts is not a game as a service.
I was
God of War is not a game as a service.
Hyperbolic,
Yeah.
To make the point of the terminology is loaded, but yeah, no, I do actually understand where you're coming from, and it's fair. I don't know. It's this weird thing where, just like in previous generations, where we saw the death of various types of games, the single player game, the horror title, all of that, this feels like the industry attempting to draw everyone to a specific path just so they don't have to make these other types of services.
They are. They're 100% are.
Yeah.
But I think there ends up being enough pushback from the actual community because, we see people in AEA that state that, single player games don't exist, like they're not good anymore. There's no such thing as a good, like, nobody wants a single player game anymore. And then you see like games like, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order breaking fucking like records in sales because it's a single player Star Wars games with the fucking lightsaber, and they really want to play that. You know, you see games like Witcher fucking topping charts like over the years. You see things like fucking Skyrim being sold every year on the year, like every year on the dot from Todd Howard. Like people want single player games. Yeah, people
How
do want
long?
multiplayer games, but like people do want single player games.
How long until on? I guess it would mostly be Xbox, but I think there's a chance for it to be on PS5 as well. Until we see Skyrim next gen.
What you mean, Elder Scrolls 6?
No, no, no. I specifically mean Skyrim next gen.
Like Skyrim remastered?
I mean Elder
Skyward
Scrolls 5
remastered?
Skyrim. Exactly.
Yeah, Skyrim
Don't.
remastered.
Todd Howard is listening.
So here's the thing: if it's gonna happen, he's already made it. It's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just
He's
it's just
rubbing his
waiting to be
hands
shipped
with
out.
glee at this very moment. And it's like,
My
oh,
goodness.
someone mentioned Skyrim again. Wonderful.
I think Todd Howard's done selling Skyrim because he literally just sold Skyrim from $7.6 billion.
It was a
So,
very impressive sell. Yeah.
so I think he's done with the selling Skyrim business, but
Hmm.
I think that's enough next gen talk because we just
Yeah.
did an hour and a
Yeah.
half of next gen talk. We've got some company stuff to get through.
Boy, don't we?
First of which, anybody that gets on Twitch has been noticing that a lot of people are talking about DMCA and people getting strikes, and then after 3 strikes you get
Yep.
banned. It's getting a bit ridiculous.
It is.
Leek, tell us about this one guy about cooking.
Cooking.
The blender.
Oh, no, that's a joke, right?
No,
The
no,
Skrillex blender joke.
no.
I checked on the Twitch. It's what is real. Because one I saw was to do with police sirens in Persona 5. Someone got a strike for just a siren in the game.
Yeah. Somebody got struck, but somebody also got struck for for a guy because he was in a cooking stream saying that fucking he was playing Skrillex.
It was a joke.
It was a joke.
It was.
It was.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
confirmed.
Okay.
Is
I
it,
wanted
like-
so desperately for that to be true for several
Yeah.
reasons, but it was. It
Oh.
was in fact a joke, which is a shame.
Blender in Skrillex apparently is an old joke.
But it doesn't take away from the fact that can be made.
I
Yes,
don't.
like
I
I
don't.
said, the
I
police-
don't
the-
doubt that would
siren?
happen though.
Yeah. And I don't doubt it too. Like the ridiculousness of a police siren getting you a strike. It's just a real life noise. Like, what are you going to do if one runs past your window? It's silly. But yeah, no. So just to like clarify stuff, and to clear what we're trying to say. So recently, DMCA, which stands for the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, this is basically a US law that allows you to create and share content on digital service providers like Twitch, and people have to comply with the DMCA and similar laws worldwide. And then Twitch goes on to say part of the complying means that when a copyright holder thinks a streamer has used their content without permission, they have a right to put a process in place for them to be able to request the content be taken down. So they had a blog put out this month, and they were trying to explain why there were so many strikes suddenly cropping up all at once. And they tried to just say like who is sending the notifications, and it's the major record labels. And the labels themselves started sending thousands of DMCA notifications since this was all cropped up recently. It was nuts, so many, and they've had to like basically deal with all these requests from representatives of the labels themselves. And each of these strikes have targeted creators' archives, mostly for snippets of tracks in year-old clips. So any like VOD and stuff and clip you've saved, they've targeted those. So this is like, it means two things. It says on their blog. One, if you play recorded music on your stream, you need to stop doing that. And two, If you haven't already, you should review your historical VODs and clips that may have music in them and delete any archives that might. So any old content you've had on your Twitch account, you have to get rid of just in case.
Can I interject here for a second?
Please do.
Let me tell you how deleting your stuff doesn't work. So
Oh shit.
Twitch has a public server that everything's backed up onto.
Mm-hmm.
People are still getting DMCA'd even though they deleted their shit.
Really?
Yeah, because these programs that are searching for these copywritten music are also searching these public servers, and it's still connected to your Twitch account,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and so they can still flag you as streaming something that that is DMCAable and giving you a strike, even though you've deleted it. There's a guy named Devin Ash. He streams on Twitch and does videos on YouTube. He has explained how you can easily access this public server to revitalize everything that you've had on your like VODs and clips, and actually bring them back to your Twitch account.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
Please continue.
No. I was going to say, it's just so, like, you know, even if you delete the stuff, I mean, yeah, you can say you deleted it and you get a DMCA strike, and then you counter that and say, hey, look, I deleted it way before, but you still gave me a DMCA strike, and then Twitch might do something for it, but I highly doubt it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a real strange place we find ourselves at. It feels as if Twitch kind of feels like that they're realizing that technically nothing it does, ergo nothing the community does, is above being potentially pinged for copyright claims. I refuse to go so far as to say it's not legal, like what's his nuts a couple of weeks ago said. But like everything that this community does has the potential to be pinged for copyright. And
Gosh.
so
Oh no. I'm just going, gosh.
yeah, and so now with it being as popular as it's ever been and being as scrutinized as it's ever been, it finds itself in the situation of we literally do not have in place the means by which to protect our community. Also, I personally feel they don't want to, because that would require work and money and manpower, but they know that even if they did want to, they currently can. They just lack the resources.
They go to as far as to say this in their FAQ that they put up that's attached to the blog. So managing the content on your channel, this is a whole section for itself. 1. I have hundreds of highlights and VODs saved. What can I do to effectively manage this content? And their answer is, we do not currently have a mass deletion tool for VODs or highlights. Most creators have the ability to host a small number of VODs hosted on the channel, which can be reviewed one by one. For the smaller subset of creators with large archives of VODs and highlights, there are third-party tools that exist to help creators mass delete those archives. It's important to note that once you delete content from your channel, it cannot be restored. Interesting. So next is, do you advise that I search for and delete clips with copyright music, or is it best to leave it for Twitch to delete the clips for me? And they say the content is your responsibility. Consider reviewing and removing recorded content from your channel, including clips, VODs, and highlights, if you are not sure whether you have the necessary permission or authority to include copyright music in them. Yeah, they say it clearly. Your content is your responsibility. And they basically put their hands up.
Because they don't want to be responsible for this. They never did. It's what makes it really difficult now is for Twitch to understand the position they've put a lot of people in and still be willing to do nothing. And this is also obviously commentary on YouTube as well. The DMCA system was never intended, at least I think, to be able to be used so frugally.
No.
To have a machine clip through, let's say run through and hear something and go dinging that, dinging that, dinging that. This always felt like something that needed a human touch. especially in a space like this, wherein nothing is being sold that theoretically should infringe upon the music corporations or the game corporations themselves. Everything that is sold by these content creators is their brand. Like I occasionally someone will get a big too big for their britches and sell something with a bunch of pokeballs on it, but that's when the company should step in and go, all right, now you've infringed upon our IP. Anything before that, streaming shouldn't be demonized like this. Yes, music is playing. Woo. No one is playing, let's go with something stupid. No one is playing Michael Jackson on stream for the sake of playing it so everyone can listen to it. They're playing it because that's their music that they play softly in the background as they run through a horde of demons and doom.
Yeah. Nobody's getting paid. Like nobody's
Yeah,
watching this person just because they're playing Taylor Swift on there.
exactly. Like these are situations that I know the folks paying for the DMCA's are aware don't exist, but I do know that this is the reason why they're paranoid. They never wanted to get to that point, which I think is ridiculous because that has never once been the point of any service like this.
No. The DMCA law needs to be revised and um
I don't know about that. I think the DMCA system word for word is probably fine. I just think it cannot be something that is handled by machines. This is something that is too delicate for that and can impact too many people in the modern era negatively, like to the point of like major financial crisis.
yeah, fair.
Like this requires a human touch. It also requires a bit of a heart. Like this cannot be something that YouTube and Twitter say, "Oh, you got to strike, no more making money for you." This has to be a case of, "Okay, you've been warned.
Yeah.
Don't make this mistake again." We understand that potentially, as you were using this, you did not do so maliciously. You may continue, but you continue under the assumption that you are now being audited. You're being watched, and how you proceed going forward will potentially affect you. But no, like these grand sweeping pings on Claxtons and 30-second sound bites and just music that doesn't mean anything to the stream. It's got to go. It has to go.
Yeah.
And I think there is a bit of an onus on we as streamers. Well, I mean, I'm not, but on streamers to find a new way to move past the music. I know you want to play the music that you listen to on stream, but for the well-being of yourself, your community going forward, I mean, we have to find something else to do until this gets sorted.
Just queue
It
up
is
a
it's concerning when
lo-fi.
it actually involves music in the game itself, and they actually
And
encourage
yeah,
people to just play it without the
Oh
soundtrack on.
yeah. Playing
I
Guitar Hero is
completely forgot about
not
that.
available anymore. Playing Guitar Hero or Rock Band is not viable anymore.
It
Yeah.
is ridiculous to the point that people have to ask, "Hey, is your game designed around streaming?" Because every game isn't going to be CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk. With again, no, this is all our music made from scratch, and we're going to clear you.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, that's not going to be the case. There will be some tracks from a celebrity or something that happens to pop in, and that could potentially ding you pretty hard.
Uh, yeah. I'm I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, but hopefully it gets to a point where it actually has to change. 'Cause I know people are like really afraid right now, but I mean,
I mean, the real
just
question is, if this continues being awful, what do content creators do? There's
queue
kind
up
of no
lo-fi
place
hip
to
hop, man.
go. See that, and that's exactly why I play that.
Yeah. Queue
That's
up
exactly
lo-fi hip
on
hop.
the on the 4 streams that I've ever done. That is exactly why I use that.
Or buy a license for Mad Cat's fucking music.
Hey, well, you know that blog post I was talking about earlier with Twitch,
Yeah.
their own blog post.
Yeah.
Even when don't worry, we're making that, you know, new soundtrack thing that we're going to put out soon, winky face.
Yeah. I mean, if
So
It's
you're
gonna be a
it,
plugging
real
that.
shame when every stream starts to sound the same.
yeah, true. Yeah.
That's my worry with that. Is a sound bank means it's stuff that they've cleared, and in that sound bank, they're only going to have so much of a specific type of music, and people are going to have favorites.
Hmm.
And a lot of those favorites are probably going to overlap. So certain streams with streamers with similar mentalities are going to start to sound in the background, albeit pretty similar.
Yep. Well, we got to
I
move
should learn
on.
how to make music.
Yeah, you should learn how to make music.
Yeah.
We have to move on because
Hmm.
we're hitting the 2 hour mark and we've got still a couple of like big ish
Yeah,
things to
yeah,
hit.
absolutely.
Gosh, all right.
So another win for consumers this week is EA gets hit with another class action lawsuit. This time it's because they have been accused of putting in their difficulty. What is it called?
The dynamic
Yeah,
difficulty adjustment.
dynamic difficulty adjustment that uh that looks at your game and then increases the difficulty in hopes to, well, at least with the people that are suing, they're accusing them of increasing your difficulty in hopes that you'll push you, but hopes that it'll push you to buy loot boxes, and these are put into like EA's games like FIFA or actually, mainly just FIFA. I think this is I think FIFA's the one that they're actually suing over.
FIFA's always going to be the one that gets sued over because that's the more global. That's the most globally um, important brand they have. That's the
Yeah.
one that's going to have the highest population.
Yep. So yeah, you're gonna hit with another lawsuit about that, and there needs to be evidence. Obviously, they need to be able to prove that one they put in the dynamic difficulty, because EA did come out with a patent for dynamic difficulty about a year and a half ago to 2 years ago.
Yeah, way back in 2016.
Yeah, a patent did come out for it. So they do have the technology to do that. It's just they've not said or that they've put it into their video games. Um, so if they do put it in, they're going to put it in under the radar. And that's what they're being accused of right now, is that they put it in under the radar. They're making their games more difficult without letting the players know, in hopes to push them to pay for more loot boxes to get better, to get, Lionel Messi, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a really complicated situation to find yourself in on either side. Proving that dynamic difficulty adjustment is in the game is going to be really rough from the defendant standpoint. Um, but also, I mean, if it's found to be in there, how do they defend against that? I mean, obviously, if dynamic difficulty is in their game, and we know that they've had a patent ongoing since 2006, since the early months of 2006 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why wouldn't they have used this to push their loot boxes? Though even then, once you found out that this system is in the game, it's going to be almost impossible to say it's in there specifically because they want to push loot boxes. So honestly, this is mostly, I would imagine, the yearly to bi-yearly argument we see about this even existing.
Mm-hmm.
Because in and of itself, it's fine. The way, even the wording on the patent makes sense. If a game is too hard or too easy, people don't want to play it. So having this dynamic range that will float between will keep a player engaged with the product. However, once you start adding those monetization practices um, for speed purposes, for difficulty purposes, and just for having better things, it gets iffy on if the two are linked, and if they are linked, are they linked nefariously?
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see how this plays out, because it could go either way. It's like, this is going to be a rough thing to prove for the guys,
Or no, for
for
the
the
plaintiff.
guys, yeah, the guys making the case. But I would expect to see this if they don't win this lawsuit, which I suspect they won't, I would expect to see this brought up again and again going on down the line.
Yeah.
As long as this patent remains in EA's hands, essentially.
Yeah. So yeah, man, EA is just scummy, and that we're gonna leave it at that. So we got some Capcom updates from the hack last week. Apparently, 350,000 people's information got stolen. Now, is that just from the 350,000 people in the company's information, or is that 350,000 people's information but between the company and the people that buy and play their games?
Company and consumers.
Ooh.
Yeah. Said some of it, its own financial information had been stolen. And last, like a week and a half earlier, it said no customer information had been accessed, but that has changed now. That stands.
I think the current stance is no customer financial information has been stolen, but identity, like names and I don't know. Actually, I'm not quite sure what would be.
Customer, business partners, and other employees are affected by this. So personal information related to that. So Capcom did release a statement as well. They said none of the at-risk data contains credit card information.
Exactly.
All online transactions are handled by a third-party service provider, and as such, Capcom does not maintain any such information internally. Capcom would once again like to reiterate its deepest apologies for any complications or concerns caused by this incident. As a company that handles digital content, it is regarding this incident with the utmost seriousness.
Yeah. Man, I don't blame Capcom for this. I mean, it's a fucking piece of crap hacker group that's doing this stuff.
They refused to pay. They refused to pay the ransom, so that's why they're starting to release.
Okay.
Yeah, they refused.
And they should. They should refuse.
That said, if you have any information for Capcom, you really should change passwords at this point.
Yeah. I haven't bought a Capcom game in like forever. Actually, the last Capcom game I bought was Monster Hunter World. So.
Yep, I buy pretty regularly. That's not true, but regularly enough that I'm worried.
All right, and our last in company news is that actually just a couple days ago, Montreal Ubisoft was had a false hostage situation.
Yes. So I looked up Montreal Gazette, is like a local newspaper, for some information and statements. And the statement from the police was the perimeter was quickly secured, and the SPVM confirms no threat has been detected and no injuries are reported. And that was about a statement at 7 p.m. at that day. It's about 200 people were in the building at the time. This is out of 4,000 people that are usually in there, so at least that most people are working from home because of the situation, of course. Yeah. But there was like people were basically hiding out in the offices, and there was like photographs of people on the roof that they decided to go up there just for safety, and they were eventually led out by the police one by one.
It was good that they were pretty timely in Montreal with the authorities on that.
I'm really happy to hear it was a hoax, given what it was initially rumored to be.
Yeah.
So
it's true. Although hoax calls have their own like consequences sometimes. There are people have been shot in their own home.
Sure. Like this is essentially swatting on a much larger scale. Which sadly enough is probably safer, but don't fucking do that.
Yeah, no.
Please no. Also in Canada, it's against the law. You know, there is a imprisonment up to 5 years in Canada if you do this shit.
I'm against
like 80% sure it's I'm pretty sure it's illegal here as well. I just don't know what it would be filed under.
I think it's just I mean, if you some people have gotten it, so if a swatting it ends up in the death of somebody, there have been spots where the person gets charged with like third-degree murder or something like that.
Okay. This was classed as public mischief.
Yeah, it would
probably situation.
It would probably be classified under like reporting under false pretenses or something like that. It'd be a felony, most likely, 100%. It especially on that big of a scale.
One interesting one was like there was a few calls that were made about this hostage thing, and one of the calls was apparently within the building. I'm not sure if they're going to look into that, but that's like an odd thing.
That's interesting.
Concerning.
Well, we'll probably see more updates as the week goes on. Hopefully they'll catch the person that made the false claim. So we talked about Neo 2, or we talked about me playing Neo 1. But Neo 2 is going to have a complete edition. And it's announced for PS4 and PS5. But if you buy the PS4 version, you get the upgrade for PS5 for free. So, and Neo 1 is also getting a PS5 version. So, which I'm assuming if you have the PS4 version, you get that one for free. I already have that, so I'll get the free version of that. So.
Yeah, we were talking about this last week, weren't we? When there was an announcement upcoming for Neo.
Yeah.
So it seems like we hit the nail on the head for this one.
Yep. Oh, and there's a PC version too. I neglected.
There it is.
I neglected to put out that there's going to be a PC version, but there is a PC version. So I think it's for Miles Morales, but it might be for the remastered version as well. You can download a free suit for Spider-Man. It is a Black Lives Matter suit. It is black and white, and it's nice and shiny.
Black and gold.
Or black and gold, yes. Or black. Why did I say black and white? Black and yellow. Yeah, it's black and gold though. It's nice and shiny. It looks pretty good actually. I don't know if there's any like abilities attached to it. I highly doubt there is, but you can also mix and match your abilities on the spider suits anyway. Marvel's Avengers loses 96% of its player base.
One moment, please. I'm so happy I dodged this bullet.
The game is fun. Like, the game is fun. It's just they're handling it wrong.
It's just
They're handling it
I
wrong.
have 96% of a reason to explain to you why you're wrong. No, I do believe that the game is actually really fun. I think a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people rather, literally say this game is great, and it's a shame that the player base fell out because I enjoy going back and playing it. It's weird how many people I've seen say that, given no one apparently is playing this game. But yeah, no. It seems like the game itself is fine.
It's fundamentally a good game.
Yeah, most of this is just, I mean, it apparently couldn't keep a lot of the end game crowd, so it was always going to have a niche crowd to begin with, and it just couldn't keep them either. And the bugs turned off anyone who was willing to try. So
you said end game crowd. It's an Avengers game.
Well, God, I hate this.
Yeah.
All right.
accidental joke.
Okay, that's. I did this to me.
I'm gonna say this. I say this week to week because every week we have Avengers news. It sucks. I've actually
the last week.
no, it's probably actually it might be the last week because I mean no. Next week we'll hear that it lost the rest of its 4% of players.
No.
2 people confirmed still playing this game. Aqua and Ethis.
Yeah. Actually, me and Ethis haven't played in a couple weeks, so.
Well.
Yeah, so we're already part of the 96%. The game's fundamentally fun, like that, but there are problems with it. Like I said, the bugs are just ridiculous. The developer is having problems, I guess, fixing all the bugs, and I guess that's one of the reasons why that's actually the main reason why a lot of it's getting delayed. A lot of like the roadmap is delayed because I think they're just sitting there trying to make it a fun, like at its ground core, like technologically a good game, because at this moment, like, I mean, people are just falling through floors, or there's online desyncs and stuff like that.
I'm gonna say what I said before. This game came out too soon. They
Yeah.
wanted to double down on
6 months. Needed
buys.
6 more months.
Yeah, they wanted to double down on buys, and now they're paying for it.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, like, again, as with Godfall, this seems like a game that would be great for me to play when I just want to turn my brain off and punch things. Um, so like fundamentally, it's what, like, it's Diablo, but Avengers.
Yep.
It's a CRPG. You go around, you stand on the point, you kill the baddies, point opens up, and you continue. You get loot, you scoot. Um, but yeah, no, the game just dropped too early. It was not in a state that people appreciated. And genuinely, I think its first impression also hurt its sales considerably
Yeah.
because a lot of people saw it and legitimately just said, "I'm gonna wait for to hear what people think. I don't like what this game looks like off the bat."
Mm-hmm.
And
Was
because
correct.
because everyone who did play it was like, maybe not. It just saw the player base come out from under it, a player base that it didn't even fully set up to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe like if there's a title that could save this, it's Avengers, because I'm sure it's having all the money thrown at it. But this is rough.
Yep. But I'll probably say it every week because there'll probably be something new next week. I like the game, but needs fixing. Um, Now last week you linked this like 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days
But I'm gonna
ago.
let Dollar talk about it because he can pronounce the name.
Oh yeah, he can pronounce the name. So apparently games are good for you.
Yeah. According to the Oxford
Oh,
Internet Institute research.
Yeah.
yeah. So, according to the Oxford Institute of Research, specifically Andrew Shibilsky, the concept that video games aren't inherently bad for you has once again been demolished. Perhaps in a bit of an overstatement, they say video games are good for you in moderation, as with all
Mhm.
things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of
Yes.
course.
So, science has momentarily caught up to the real world in finding out that games like movies, television, music are not inherently dangerous, but instead a healthy outlet if used in moderation. Amazing!
Yeah.
Wow!
Like the two games they used for this research was Plants vs Zombies and Animal Crossing. So
Now, admittedly, they chose two very safe games
Oh yeah.
to stake that bet on, but I mean, it's fair enough. I don't know about Plants vs Zombies, but specifically Animal Crossing is a super solid one to study, especially right now, given its popularity and given that it was the game of COVID at the start of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm, mhm. And it's also a very social game. So people missing out with social interaction can do so via Animal Crossing through its in-game text and emotes, and just exploring. And you can
Yeah.
hold hands, I think, as well, which is cute. But they said also that they took note that your mood also depends on how much you enjoy the game. So if you're going into the game already stressed, most likely you're going to be a bit stressed
Yep.
after playing.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, look, I didn't mean to drag Shabilsky at the beginning. Honestly, he is doing good work, and this is another step away from the demonization of video games.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm passingly familiar with him. He's been for like years arguing against the notion that video games are at fault for the shortcomings of specifically teen boys,
Mhm.
and that video games are the cause of players becoming more violent. I saw him after looking him up. I did recognize him from, I think it was a CNN interview and a secondary interview in Canada that was highlighted. But yeah, he's been doing this for a while, and
Yeah.
it is actually genuinely nice to see someone with sense not immediately say insert media here is bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he says, like as like a description of what type of goal he is trying to get out from this study in particular. He says we might build a theory of bullying, or learn how people build new friendships. And this his hope is that my hope is that this fosters curiosity and collaboration and open data. with like this sort of research as well.
Yeah, I mean, especially with what you've just said, I would like to see another study given more time, a wider audience, and MMOs specifically. Because I think Animal Crossing and Plants vs. Zombies is fine. Well, I think Animal Crossing is fine. I think Plants vs. Zombies was just because it's the only other game they could get a hold of. But I'd like to see MMOs, a highly social environment with rampant bullying, be tested to see what their thoughts on that are.
Definitely. MMO would be a good platform for that.
Yeah.
But
And that's it. That's really all I've got to say.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah,
mean, that's all we
yeah.
have.
Thumbs up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's actually more, but we've went on like way too long. I'm pretty sure I could probably talk about next gen, because watching those streams are it's very enlightening. But like I said, I'll link Gigaboot's YouTube and Twitch into the
So it's sponsored by Gigaboots.
No, not sponsored by Gigaboot.
I wish.
I don't even think
Hey,
they
guys.
know. They don't
Hey,
even. They don't even
we
know I
talked
exist.
about you a lot, winky face.
They don't even know I exist. Yeah, I'll link them in the description. You guys should take a look at them, because they're
I mean, I
they're
certainly
pretty funny.
will.
They're pretty funny. Like they're
Or maybe I
they're
will
hilarious.
too.
They're hilarious. Is actually.
All right. Yeah.
Anyway, what are we playing this week, guys?
I'm playing the game of life because I need to do more commission work and finish off a lot of artwork. But I will
Same.
probably be squeezing a Genshin because I still need to. I'm not addicted. I just need to roll on banners.
I will also be playing Genshin. The event literally dropped this morning, and it's going on for a while. It's a 3-stage event, so that'll keep me in between my classes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Paper Mario. I'm almost done with the game. I think I've got 3 more Star Spirits to get, and then, like I said, I'm at a boss right now that I need to figure out how to beat. And then, I don't know what else I'm gonna play. I haven't been like, dude, I just want a PS5. Like, and I don't even want a PS5 to play video games. I want a PS5 just to have a fucking PS5. Like, yeah, I got a PS5. I can play any of my video games on it if I really want to. I mean, I want to play. I want to play like all of my old games on it. So. But,
yeah, I mean, it'd be nice. I'm still kind of debating on if I even want the PS5 or not. I think my next big investment will be like a graphics card.
Yeah, I'm okay with graphics cards at the moment. My computer runs pretty much every game I can at an okay level.
I'm still on my replace my computer mission, so that's not gonna happen.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what games I'm gonna play. I might pick up Neo and try that again.
I believe
Get angry at it for 5 minutes and then not play it.
Actually, you know, I've been wanting to play some Monster Hunter, so I still have it on my PS4, I think. So I'm
double hug, because I was expecting that on my PC, and I'd be like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I downloaded it from my PC like last month or whatever, and then I like immediately deleted it because I wanted to download another game, and I don't have too much hard drive space. So yeah, I might do a night of Monster Hunter one night. Who knows?
Tell me.
I will. Also, actually, I've seen Monster Hunter load on the PS5. I haven't seen like it go into like guiding lanes yet, so I need to watch a video of that actually. But I've seen like just a regular hunt load up, and it feels faster than a fucking PC. So I was like, yes. Anyway, that'll do for us this week, and yeah, we'll talk to you all later.
Goodbye.
Take care.
Thank you for listening. If you like this content and want to see more, please like, favorite, and subscribe. Links to our Twitters are in the description.